Bakugan is one of the greatest pieces of fiction ever to exist. One of the greatest childhood TV shows ever. And with peak comes great characters. And today I'll give you my top 10 or the top 10 battle brawlers or brawlers in Bakugan. Not gonna lie, this ranking was hard because if you know Bakugan, they kind of stopped playing the game after maybe episode 20. So I'm just going off of what I saw and things of that nature. So let's get to it. To start off my list, we have Fabia, and the only reason she is here is because of that one fight against that woman and her dog. That's in my top 15 fights in the whole series, because Arnott was able to get his get back against the dog, and they were just going crazy. So thanks to Arnott, she gets to be in the top 10. Coming in at number 9 is Marucho. No matter how you feel about Marucho, he has skills. He always has to switch Bakugan every season, coming up with new strategies and a new way to play. And then he's the brain of the Brawlers. It's said multiple times that he is the smartest. He's a billionaire. He's the smartest. Also, he was top 3 in the rankings of Bakugan Interspace in Mactamium Surge, both parts. So he gets number 9. And then coming in for my number 8 is Anubias. He's cold because he was able to replace Dan as number 1 in Bakugan Interspace. He was able to push Dan and Drago to their limit. Then he was able to switch his Bakugan and was still cold. He went from Pyrus, Darkest, Ventus, and still was able to play perfectly fine. Also, he stands on business. When he went against Dan and Drago, they got disqualified because they were out of control. Anubias wasn't going to let that slide, so he hopped dimensions for a fade. If that is not dedication and skill, I don't know what is. And then my number 7 is Ren, the only black man in the show. He's from the trenches, and his Bakugan has a switch. If that's not enough, he did good against Dan and Drago during all their fights, actually, if we're being honest. Also, he's just smart. He was able to finesse the Brawlers into almost joining Gandalia. And again, I like the character, so he gets number 7. Coming in at number 6 is Guts, another person who was a versatile with Bakugan, because he was top 3 before he got cooked and got put in the Spirit Vines. And then when he got out and challenged Dan and Drago in the Doom Dimension, he was able to use a Bakugan he never used before and was able to compete with them. And even after all that happened, at the end of the show, I'm just going to assume that I don't remember exactly what happened, but he went against Dan and Drago and was able to hold his own against Dan and Drago. So yeah, Guts is number 6. Number 5, we got the big dog, Masquerade. I know what y'all are thinking. Some of y'all may be mad with this placement, but hear me out. There isn't a lot to say. He was literally the number 1 brawler in the world at the beginning. He was able to cook everyone in the show to that point at least twice, and Hydronoid was tough. Also, he and Dan went crazy during their final battle because they were at the Coliseum, the baseball stadium or stadium, whatever, just going back and forth, and it was crazy. Masquerade was ready to switch down Dan. Masquerade really got him in his bag, really got mad because Dan was out here aura farming, smiling with the ripped shirt and things of that nature. And he gets number 5 because everybody on this list before him was just stronger than him over time, you feel me? So yeah, Masquerade, number 5. Number 4, I have Berodius, the only double villain. First, he's a demon who was ready to destroy anyone who was in his way, friend or foe, to get the sacred orb. He was ready to do anything to get it. He and Darak were cooking and had all of Nethia shook. And then in Mactamium Surge, he was on demon time. He had Dan tripping and had Bro in his sleep tossing and turning. And then he was ready to destroy all 3 worlds just to get his get back. And I have to respect it. And Darak / Razornoid is one of the coolest looking Bakugan in my personal opinion, so Berodius gets my number 4 spot. Before I get to my top 3, like, comment, subscribe if you're liking the video, and let's get to the top 3. My number 3 is Shun, the only ninja in the 21st century. Shun is definitely one of the most strategic players in the game, and he was actually number 1 for a while when the game actually had rules. Because for those who know ball, he had this strat with a butterfly that would cook his opponents before he would let Skyrus come out. If you don't know ball, you don't know, but those who know what strategy I'm talking about. And then all his Bakugan were tough, and the best one is Jakor because he was cool. I don't care what anyone has to say. The coolest one of Shun's Bakugan is Jakor, no question. My number 2 is my favorite and the best villain in the whole show because he was just cool, and that is Spectra. And in my personal opinion, he did the masked villain role better than Masquerade. Argue with your mom. And then Helios is one of them ones. He was ready to do anything to beat Drago and become the strongest. All of their fights against Dan and Drago were cool, especially the one at the end of the first arc where they were using lightsabers to fight and Drago and Helios were just throwing hands in the back. It was just pure madness and I love it. So Spectra gets my number 2 spot. And then coming in at number 1, no surprise to anyone, the GOAT of Bakugan, top 5 dragon related anime characters of all time, Dan Kuso. Dan and Drago are the ultimate duo. They have saved every world in their universe at least twice. These two took down Masquerade, Naga, Spectra, Helios, Xenoheld, Berodius, Darak, Magmel, Razornoid, and the Mechagon single-handedly. There's nothing that needs to be said. They are the GOAT and are number 1. They may not have the best strategies, but it doesn't matter. You don't need strategy when you're the strongest. That is my list. Argue with your mom in the comments. That is the list of the top 10 Bakugan battle brawlers in Bakugan. Well, that's the end of the video. Like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, have a good day.